Jake Tapper would be fired or at least suspended if he lied this blatantly about almost anything else, okay? Anything else. Anything at all. I'm saying it. Oh, speaking of people lying, by the way, and continue along with those lies, predictably, we have Dana Fash. Remember what we were talking about with respect to anti-Semitism? Here it is. Dana Fash. A sad reality. Anti-Semitism is everywhere, and it comes from both ends of the political spectrum. Let's hear what this fascist piece of shit had to say on CNN.
And now to a sad reality, and that is anti-Semitism is everywhere, and it comes from both ends of the political spectrum. But politicians sometimes sidestep calling it out when it comes from a member of their own party. We saw two examples on State of the Union yesterday. First, with Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, when my co-anchor Jake Tapper.
Bro, they did this shit with Ilhan Omar back in the day. They did this shit with Ilhan Omar back in the day, okay? Straight up. They did this exact same shit with Ilhan Omar back in the day. Universal condemnation over something she didn't say that was objectively correct. What she said was objectively correct, okay? In terms of like lobbying. Think about it. When Ilhan Omar was in the crosshairs and they were ripping her into shreds and the Democratic Party was like literally also participating in it, what was the major thing that she said? That the Israeli lobby has a tremendous amount of influence on the way that legislation works. This is obviously the reality, and it is so much so the reality that like now it's the reality that most people are aware of, okay? And it's crazy. It's crazy that she said moneyed interests are what motivates a lot of American politicians. It is wild to me. It's wild to me that like people ripped her into shreds. They pulled older statements. They try to make it seem like she was pro 9/11. You know, they pulled out all the stops. And they've pulled out those stops on me as well. It's something that I personally have seen too. And now they're doing it to Rashida Tlaib again. Okay?
Asked about a Democratic congresswoman's accusation that the state's Jewish attorney general was letting.
Jewish attorney general. Oh, wow, dude. I didn't realize it was, I didn't realize it was like that. She never actually mentioned that she was Jewish. She never actually mentioned her, religious or ethnic background whatsoever, and simply said, this decision coming from a Democratic attorney general is additionally bad. It's expected from a Republican, but what the fuck is a Democrat doing this? I call into question the attorney general's office in how biased they are in this issue, on the issue of Palestine, in comparison to not behaving this way on any other issue where Democrats are supposed to be champions of free speech and free protest. Okay? I voted for Nessel at the 2017 MDP convention to be the attorney journey nominee for Dems. I learned this month that she was Jewish. Yeah. Like, that's the other side of the equation that doesn't even fucking matter. Like, it's just irrelevant. It's completely and utterly irrelevant to the subject matter, which is precisely why they are the ones who are putting it in there. Jake Tapper is the one who's like, she's Jewish.
Letting her religion influence her job.
Do you think that Tlaib suggests?
It's like funny because, bro, it literally, at this point, this is like the Nazi anti-Semitic canard of just being like, oh, wow, like, I guess it's anti-Semitism when you criticize a Jewish person for anything. Like, that's what Nazis are supposed to say, okay? That's what Nazis say, right? You're not supposed to lean into that and use it as a defensive posture, because when you do that, you're giving credence to Nazis, okay? It is so goddamn annoying. It is so ridiculous that, like, they quite literally are doing that as a straight up defense mechanism where they're like, well, I guess you're criticizing a Jewish woman, anti-Semitism much. It's like, dude, what the are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's insane. You can't do that. Like, that is such a cynical deployment of anti-Semitism as a shield at a time when anti-Semitism is skyrocketing, okay? Like real anti-Semitism, not from the river to the sea anti-Semitism, not the fake shit that ADL adds to pad the stats at a time when the stats are already alarmingly high as a direct consequence of people looking at what Israel is doing and go, what the f-? They say they're doing this for Judaism. Well, I guess Jews do control the media. That's anti-Semitism. That's real anti-Semitism. And so many more Americans now than they did prior to October 7 firmly are committed to that position, okay? Firmly. So at a time when American Jews, at a time when American Jews need a honest broker of the truth in terms of anti-Semitic incidents, more than they ever have, okay? The one outlet that is propped up by the media, the one outlet that is propped up by the goddamn media is an institution that has coordinated and collaborated with the apartheid government of South Africa historically and has targeted American Jews that were anti-apartheid protesters and still continues to target American Jews that are anti-apartheid and anti-genocide demonstrators. And that's like the formative anti-Semitism expert is an institution that is objectively in the tank for Israel's apartheid and nothing else. Very sad state of affairs.
Suggestion that Nessel's office is biased was anti-Semitic?
Yeah, what was crazy about it is that, Jake Tapper read the quote. It's not like Jake Tapper doesn't have access to the quote. He read the quote and then just lied about what Rashida Tlaib said. He read the direct quote that Rashida Tlaib gave and then turned around and was like, well, she is Jewish and Rashida Tlaib absolutely did this for anti-Semitism. Felix brought up a good point, by the way. Felix Biederman, of course. Hold on. I'm going to pull this up. I mean, it's not even that crazy of a take, but it's like Jake Tapper would be fired or at least suspended if he lied this blatantly about almost anything else, okay? Anything else. Anything at all. But this is a double Monty. It's both a cynical deployment of anti-Semitism as a defense shield, okay? And also, it is incredibly Islamophobic. So the way that he can do this, like when you hit both of those tunes, like you're not incurring any penalties whatsoever, okay? You're not getting any penalties for that whatsoever. It is the most normal process. It is the most normal thing you can do. It is the expected thing you do in media.
Listen, Jake, you know what? All I can say is that I know that our Jewish community is in pain, as is our Palestinian and Muslim and Arab communities in Michigan.
Congresswoman Tlaib is suggesting that she shouldn't be prosecuting these individuals that Nessel says broke the law, and that she's only doing it because she...
They're going to say she implied it through a statement without providing the full context of the interview and quote. It doesn't matter. There is no area where she even remotely implies it. Like, what are we talking about?
She's Jewish, and the protesters are not. That's quite an accusation. Do you think it's true?
Like I said, Jake, I'm not going to get in the middle of this argument that they're having.
And then there was this exchange with Republican Senator Tom Cotton.
Are you comfortable with that? With Donald Trump saying if he loses preemptively, it's the fault of the Jews, a group already experiencing a rise of anti-Semitism in this country from the left and the right, but...
Dog, Tom Cotton is like the #1 dick rider of Israel. I can't believe they're about to say he's anti-Semitic. What the...
Still, preemptively, it's the fault of the Jews?
Well, Jake, Donald Trump has been saying things like this for at least 11 months since the October 7th attack.
I've never heard you say anything like that. If we lose, it will be the fault of the Jews.
But, Jake, Donald Trump, again, has been saying for months that anyone who cares about Israel, anyone who cares about the fate of the U.S.-Israel alliance should vote for him.
I'm talking about Jewish voters who vote for any number of reasons on any number of issues.
And he was adding...
Wait a minute. But you just said Zionism is Judaism. You implied it, and you have implied it time and time again. You use it cynically as a defense mechanism over and over again. I don't really understand. I don't really understand this at all. So if that's the case, if that's the truth that you present on a Monday, you have to continue talking about that as though it's truthful on Tuesday. You know what I mean? You can't just like say that all day, every day on CNN and then turn around and be like, can you believe Donald Trump said this? So I guess you must not believe it then, because he doesn't. And that's my point, okay? Because it is an inherently anti-Semitic sentiment to claim that all Jews care about is Israel and that is the only thing that they care about, and Israel represents Judaism. That is an anti-Semitic sentiment. That is precisely why both Nazis and ultra-Zionists represent this sentiment and repeat it on a regular basis. Problem with Jake Tapper is that he wants to turn around and use both sides of that argument cynically. On Monday, he'll say, oh, if you criticize someone, if you call them a Zionist, you're actually, you mean Jew and you hate Jews, and Zionism is just simply Israel having a right to exist in the violent and apartheid conditions that it currently exists under, and that Israel has a right to be a Jewish supremacist ethno-state that actually has an apartheid and is currently conducting a genocide. And if you actually criticize that, that means you hate all Jews. All Jews love this. That's all they think about. If you believe that on Monday, you got to believe that on Tuesday. You can't just say that on Monday. As a matter of fact, you can't say that in the same day because this is Sunday, not even Monday. On Sunday, Jake Tapper literally reiterated this position time and time again. He does it all the time. So when Trump says it, what's the problem? All of a sudden it becomes an issue, doesn't it? How does that work? When Trump says, you Jews need to vote for me, I'm giving you exactly what you want. All you care about is Israel. How is that any different than Jake Tapper also repeating that position all the time as a defensive posture? It's not different at all. Trump does tell it like it is, right? The problem is he also believes in the false notion that all Jews care about is goddamn Israel. It's not the truth. But Jake Tapper knows it's not the truth, and yet he still continuously deflects and uses this as a cynical shield to be like, no, you can't criticize Israel. You're anti-Semitic because Israel defends all Jews across the world. That's up. That's up, big dog.
An event talking about combating anti-Semitism here and around the world.
Just yes or no. Are you comfortable with him using that language?
Jake, it's the same kind of language he's been using for months.
That doesn't mean it's okay.
Yes, but it's his point. Jake, he's the most pro-Israel president we've ever had.
Now, Jake asked that question over and over again. Senator Cotton never answered. Now,
it's insane that the mainstream media is making Trump's statement an Israel issue. I think it's dangerous because it literally incites Trump's base to blame the Jews even harder for some for the election if he loses. This, as a Jew, is frightening, and it's wild that the media isn't covering the aspect of Trump's statements more. Well, the problem is the media isn't covering that aspect of Trump's statements more because the media agrees with Donald Trump. Whether they believe it genuinely or not doesn't change that reality. That's the whole point. They literally also will cynically claim that, like, Israel represents the interests of all Jews, and if you ever criticize Israel, that means you're actually talking about Jews, and they repeat it over and over and over again, despite the fact that they know it's not correct, okay? They know it's not correct. Maybe some of, like, the most deluded ultra-Zionists might believe that to be true, but, like, most people know it's not the case. Most people know that that's not the case. It's just a country, okay? That's what Israel is. It's a country, just like any other country. Just like Saudi Arabia doesn't represent represent the interests of the entire ummah, the entire Islam, the world of Islam, despite having Mecca right there. Why does nobody ever go, oh, you're criticizing Saudi Arabia, quite Islamophobic, sweetie? Why does nobody ever say that? Okay? It's literally a theocratic, it's a theocratic kingdom. Like what? What's up? They do though? No, they don't. Get out of here. You will never, ever in a million years hear that from a single goddamn media orbiter in the same severity that you hear that about Israel on a daily fucking basis. What are you talking about? Not a single person will ever seriously bring that up. If they did, people will make fun of them non-stop. And they should, because it's stupid. That's a stupid thing to say. Oh, criticizing Saudi Arabia for doing genocide? Quite Islamophobic, sweetie. That's ridiculous. Here is a statement from me back in May 21st, 2021. Stop conflating Jews all around the world with the horrific, violent Israeli occupation. You are being anti-Semitic when you claim that all Jews are a monolith in their unconditional support for a far-right, ultranationalist, ethno-state government engaging in war crimes. I've been saying the same damn shit for years and years and years, okay? Consistency. It's called being correct. It's called consistency. It's called having moral courage. Something that is sorely lacking from most of our outlets in both mainstream media and even independent media. Now, use that argument for Iran? What do you mean? That would be hilarious, dude. That would be hilarious. Like, can you imagine people being like, John Bolton, sweetie, you're being quite Islamophobic. Also, the reason why I use Saudi Arabia and not Iran as an example is because Iran is a foreign adversary. So we do actually do quite a bit of Islamophobia to justify our actions against Iran. Okay, Iranian civilians who take it from both sides in that situation, both from their own theocratic governance and also the goddamn Western world with their crippling sanctions. Anyway, going to Zin debt like Mark with the goon debt. You're about to go into goon debt if you don't subscribe at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break. Also, here, this is another one of my like old school enemies from way back in the day. I love seeing these like supposed open-minded like Joe Rogan orbiters come out and very openly defend Israel. Like every single one of these dipshits who's like Islam is the greatest evil of all time. All these like IDW frauds coming out and being like, whatever Israel does in Lebanon or in Palestine, it don't matter. It's all worthy. It is all deserved. Just like you deserve the top of the hour ad break if you haven't subscribed. What? In that case, I know many Muslims who are Islamophobic because they can't stand Iran. What? I don't think you understood anything that I said. Anyway, here's the 3-minute ad break now. This alert just hit wire, attributed to a senior U.S. Department official. Asked about Israel's strategy against Hezbollah, the official says, can't recall in recent memory period which escalation led to de-escalation. Oh, wow. This will surely change the dynamic. No, it won't, because we're too busy talking about this dumb shit.
Cotton has spoken out when it appears to come from the political left. He actually tweeted there's no place for anti-Semitism in America when Jake posted about people harassing yours truly at a book event. CNN's David Chalian is back with me. I was grateful for that, as anybody who is the subject and the victim of anti-Semitism, hate, or any other hate. And
yeah, no, totally, Dana. You got victimized with anti-Semitic hate. What does this mean? Israel sets off a nuke, okay, in Gaza. You defend the setting off of that nuke. People say you're a bloodless monster for your defense of setting off that nuke. And then they're the anti-Semites. Like, what is this? What is this argument? Like, oh, you could just like say whatever you want about Israel, but you know, if they criticize you, then you know they're in the wrong. They're anti-Semitic. Got it. Seems good. As a Lebanese, I keep talking to my dad whether I talk about the gene used to him in Palestine. He mentions that Palestine tried to take over when he was a kid or something. So he has a bias there, seems to be defending Israel in the same when it comes to Lebanon. Yeah, his attitude might, unfortunately, change, unfortunately, later down the line. When you're convinced that someone is wrong, when that person refuses to discuss the matter, refuses to provide evidence on the grounds that everyone has the right to think as they please, you can't be tolerant. Freedom of thought does not mean freedom to wander and ramble. First time hearing this, was it actually a nuke? No, Israel never set off a nuke in Gaza. They set off 5 nukes worth of munitions in Gaza. 5. Not 1, 5 nukes worth of munitions. It wasn't just like one nuke, okay? But it was such a consistent level of bombing that it was a nuke worth, multiple nukes worth of bombs. Israel cannot set off a nuke in Gaza because of the fallout. Because Gaza is literally right there, okay? It would be like nuking Brooklyn from Manhattan. That's the distance. But what they can do is use more conventional weapons, rockets of different sorts to, you know, use equivalent firepower without the fallout.
the key is, which we have learned the hard way, is you've got to call it out no matter where it comes from. What does it tell you about the inability or unwillingness to do so when it comes from a prominent person in your own party?
That you change your word. It's not an inability, it's unwillingness, and it's because you're putting politics ahead of principle.
It's always two dumb bitches talking to one another going, exactly, okay? Shut the up, dude. What is this circle jerk, dude? Hey, guys. I know a shit ton of awful things are happening in Gaza and Lebanon, but you know what the real problem is? Something Rashida Tlaib didn't even say that we just made up and we are claiming she said, and then we're arguing about how hard she said the thing that she didn't even say. Like, thank you. Thank you for cutting a lot of commentary around this made up thing that you made up instead of covering anything real. That's cool.
Principle and morality. And that's what both of them did there. It's not very hard to say that Rashida.
It's just funny because, like, the person who conducted the interview, the journalist, okay, the investigative reporter who conducted the interview keeps reiterating that this is a falsehood, okay, that they are lying about Rashida Tlaib's intention. They are lying about Rashida Tlaib. They are lying about things that she said. They are just making up things that she said. Under any other circumstance, like there would be a mechanism of defense. When CNN did this with Donald Trump, there was at least like a right-wing media circuit that would go crazy over it and disparage CNN. But there's no one for someone like Rashida Tlaib. You got me, and you got maybe a handful of journalists. No, she said there's an anti-Palestinian bias among many institutions. That is very different than what you're claiming she implied. Where is your pager, says Marinsky Jonas. Will they have Tlaib to defend herself? No, they'll do incredible. They will go to incredible lengths to besmirch her and smear her over and over and over again. And for the record, if you are sympathetic to Muslim Americans, if you know any Muslim Americans, if you know any Arab Americans, if you are Muslim yourself in the Western world, if you're Arab yourself in the Western world, you already know that there's no one that's going to defend her. What are you, crazy? This does not happen, okay? What they are doing right now has happened so many times. It happened with Ilhan Omar. It happened with Rashida Tlaib. It even happens to me, chat. Like, what are we talking about? I'm not a member of Congress. It just does not matter. That's a lot of research tabs. Yes, you're right. I should actually go on Wikipedia instead to find Steve Niebling, who wrote the article with Rashida Tlaib, responding to a Twitter post. I should just find it on Wikipedia instead. Thank you. You know, I don't know if you know this, but sometimes journalists still are on Twitter, okay? And they respond to other commentators who are lying on Twitter to call out that they're lying on Twitter. And there is functionally no way of covering that story without going on Twitter. Thank you for repeating an idiotic statement that you heard from your consistently wrong Debate Daddy account created in 2012. That was so fast. I know. I got him. I was just pretending to be an idiot. I know, dude. I know. You got me. You got me so good. Absolutely. Everyone is admiring how good you got me. I'm crying. You're so good at pretending to be a moron that you have 35,000 people convinced that you actually are a moron. And to be fair, you might be. You know, he's crying. Oh, and I can't clip. Shame. Oh, I'm shaking. I'm going to go back to my Discord and be like, I'm shaking. Speaking of the community that these shitheads come from, okay, this is the way that they operate, if you want to know. Let's take a look.
Free Stephen Kenneth Bottle II. Hey, Frogan! Free Destiny, motherfucker! Free Stephen Kenneth Bottle II! He did nothing wrong! And you kick that shirt? No, I just did. Oh, and you did nothing, pussy. Shut your bitch ass up. Hey, don't come at me, bro. I'm actually gonna do something. Don't touch me. What you gonna do? Do. Retard, kill yourself.
Dude, everyone thought that this guy was super cool when he did that. Like, everyone. He sounds so nervous. I mean, of course he sounds nervous. Yeah. Yeah, he did this to E-Rob too and then got clapped. Yeah, it's the same guy. It's the Destiny fan, Destiny Orbiter, who is like an absolute sociopath. Too bad the clip ends before he drowns in pussy. Yeah, dude. The clip ends right before every single person that was around him started high-fiving him immediately. They were like, dude, you are so sick. There is no difference between this and 4chan incels. Yeah, there is no difference because this is what this community has become. It's all 4chan incels. And that is precisely what happens when you put a 4chan incel out in public, okay? Strap a camera on them. This is exactly how they operate. The amount of clips I've seen of kick streamers harassing people at TwitchCon is insane. I feel like the main thing stopping that platform from succeeding are some people on it. One of them asked my 12-year-old daughter to go to clubs with her. They are banned now. They're going to be banned from life. Jesus Christ. Even the losers were like, yeah, not a good look. Sire will not like this. I just don't understand what causes someone to get to this degree. You know what I mean? What do they get out of this though? Like, why do they put so much effort into something with no reward? It's a hyper specific type of person. It's there are a lot of communities like this online. If you take regular showers, you are completely unfamiliar with this stuff. But this is basically like the final stage of behaving like a online troll who normally is like anonymous. There are a lot of people who want someone to act out their desires. A lot of people who never go outside that want at least one person to act out those desires. So they'll max out at like 1,000 to maybe like 3,000 live concurrent viewers. And usually it just stays at that level. But yeah, this person behaves exactly like an avatar for all of those people who can't really go outside. Hezbollah run health ministry. Oh, they did it. Told you they would do it. Hezbollah overnight says 16 of his members, including senior leader Ibrahim Akil and another top commander Ahmed Wahbi, were among the 37 killed that Lebanon's Hezbollah-run health ministry said were killed in an Israeli airstrike in a Beirut suburb. Yeah. Yep, there it is. CNN State of the Union. Wait, is that on the docket? Let me see. CNN State of the Union, okay, is where Jake Ass Tapper had Big Gretch, Governor Gretchen Whitmer on to talk about what's going on in her state. Now, for those of you who don't know, Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, has been in a little bit of trouble, I guess, or like a little bit of controversy as a consequence of her attorney general prosecuting 11 people, 9 anti-genocide protesters and 2 counter-protesters, okay, in the state of Michigan. Her name is Dana Nessel. Now, Rashida Tlaib has, of course, been incredibly critical of this, to be like, what the fuck are you doing? You can't be you can't be prosecuting anti-genocide protesters. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Okay? And, of course, Nessel and others immediately looked to that criticism and said, oh, Rashida Tlaib is saying that because Nessel is Jewish, the attorney general. Rashida Tlaib personally believes that the attorney general Nessel is Jewish, and that's why she charged the pro-Palestinian protesters. Of course, Rashida Tlaib never said that. It is just completely made up. But not only is it completely made up, it was repeated by the obvious groups that you hear from in moments like this. Groups that are noticeably quiet when Mark Robinson, who's running for governor of North Carolina, comes out and says like he's Black Hitler or and that he wants to own slaves or whatever. Okay, but groups that only seemingly chirp about someone who is pro-Palestinian. I'm of course talking about the ADL, also known as the Apartheid Defense League, also known by the former name, the Anti-Defamation League. The ADL immediately came out and was defending not only Jake Tapper, but also, claiming that Rashida Tlaib was claiming that Nessel is Jewish as the attorney general, and that's why she is against these anti-genocide demonstrators at Michigan College, American college students. So here's a clip from that. I don't know if this video is the full clip.
44.
Or how long did the full clip go for? Or is this just about Trump? Is this just like anti-Trump shit? Anyway, let's just take a look at the State of the Union clip.
Your state's Attorney General Dana Nessel charged almost a dozen individuals from the University of Michigan over the anti-Israel protests. Among the charges, attempted ethnic intimidation, assaulting or obstructing a police officer, and on and on. These are pro-Palestinian protesters who are being punished and prosecuted. Michigan Democratic Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who is Palestinian, she called the charges from Nessel, who is Jewish, shameful. And Tlaib said, quote, "It seems that the Attorney General decided if the issue was Palestine, she was going to treat it differently, and that alone..."
Nessel, who is Jewish, like, what difference does that make? You're the one who's saying it. What is this framing? That if someone is a Zionist and also Jewish, you can't say that they are biased as a Zionist who is openly in defense of Israel? Like, what is this? What the f is going on here? Like, what? It's so gross because she never even brought up, obviously, never brought up the fact that Dana Nessel is Jewish.
Speaks volumes about possible biases within the agency she runs, unquote. Nessel responded by saying, quote, Rashida Tlaib should not use my religion to imply I cannot perform my job fairly.
This has nothing to do with your religion and everything to do with your biases. If you are, out of all of the prosecutors in the nation, out of all the attorney generals in the nation, the attorney general that is choosing to genuinely prosecute, okay, under Democratic leadership, mind you, genuinely prosecute anti-genocide protesters on a college campus, you're biased. You're insane. What the fuck are you doing?
As Attorney General, it's anti-Semitic and wrong, unquote. Do you think that Tlaib's suggestion that Nessel's office is biased was anti-Semitic?
Listen, Jake, you know what? All I can say is that I know that our Jewish community is in pain, as is our Palestinian and Muslim and Arab communities in Michigan. I know that seeing the, incredible toll that this war has taken on both communities has been really challenging and difficult, and my heart breaks for so many. But as governor, my job is to make sure that both these communities are protected and respected under the law in Michigan, and that's exactly what I'm going to stay focused on.
But do you think Attorney General Nessel is not doing her job? Because Congresswoman Tlaib is suggesting that she shouldn't be prosecuting these individuals that Nessel says broke the law, and that she's only doing it because she's Jewish and the protesters are not. That's quite...
Is that what she said, Jake Tapper? If that's what she said, why didn't the quote reflect that? Because you pulled the quote. The quote literally says, prosecuting anti-genocide protesters in this unceremonious fashion implies that the office is operating on different boundaries than other attorney generals' offices so far in the nation. Okay? I would call into question biases at play. Understandable position to take. At no point does she go, Dana Nessel is Jewish and therefore biased towards Palestinian protesters or anything like that. Okay? And you know that she didn't say that, which is why you read the quote of what she actually did say and then turned around and chose to lie about what she said.
Quite an accusation. Do you think it's true?
Like I said, Jake, I'm not going to get in the middle of this argument that they're having. I can just say this. We do want to make sure that students are safe on our campuses, and we recognize that every person has the right to make their statement about how they feel about an issue, a right to speak out. And I'm going to use every lever of mine to ensure that both are true.
Lying implies an intent to deceive. Jake is just really bad at reading. No, he is intentionally lying with the intent to deceive. Jake Tapper has historically been this guy anytime Islamophobia is in display, okay? Remember when he tried to do something similar with the UN general, saying he never condemned 10/7 and only deleted his statement after he was community noted? Yeah, Jake Tapper is sloppy in the way that he tries to propagandize these positions. He has notoriously been a major enemy to the likes of Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib far before October 7. He is one of the most biased and one of the biggest Islamophobic assholes, okay? It is ridiculous. Yeah. And now Governor Whitmer is lying, adding to the lie with the statement, by the way. And here's the investigative reporter from Detroit Metro Times who actually interviewed Rashida Tlaib, where the quote comes from. The journalist himself is literally, here's the full remarks from the Detroit Metro Times, by the way, the article. This is a move that's going to set a precedent, and it's unfortunate that a Democrat made that move, Tlaib said. You would expect that from a Republican, but not from a Democrat, and that's really unfortunate. It was very inclusive. It was diverse, very loving, Tlaib, a Democrat, Detroit Democrat says. When I visited, I remember they were talking about the Armenian genocide and what we learned from that. It was very powerful. I wish University of Michigan President Santa Ono could see his students as people that just want to save lives, no matter their faith or ethnicity. We've had the right to dissent, the right to protest, Tlaib says. We've done it for climate, the immigrant rights movement, for Black lives, and even around the issues of injustice among water shutoffs. But it seems that the Attorney General has decided if the issue was Palestine, she was going to treat it differently. And that alone speaks volumes about possible biases within the agency she runs. Rashida Tlaib made no mention of Attorney General Nessel's Jewish heritage. She suggested that there were possible biases against pro-Palestinian voices in her office based on her decision to charge the protesters. The false claim seemingly originated from an article published in the Jewish Insider by chief editor Josh Kraushar. Okay? Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel leveled the same false claims against Rashida Tlaib, accused her of being anti-Semitic. This was 3 days ago, where she said what Jake Tapper showed on stream. Rashida's religion should not be used in a cartoon to imply that she's a terrorist. It's Islamophobic and wrong. Just as Rashida should not use my religion to imply I cannot perform my job fairly as Attorney General. It is anti-Semitic and wrong. Anti-Defamation League's director, Jonathan Greenblatt, also repeated the blatant lie, of course, saying Tlaib accused the Attorney General of prosecuting protesters simply because she's Jewish. Completely made up. At no point did Rashida Tlaib say that. Now, American media and Western media in general oftentimes will ignore people that they're people that are harder to basically come by. If you're going to talk about like something that's happening, it's harder to like talk to a Lebanese person that is getting bombed than it is to talk to, I don't know, an Israeli fucking military official who has a direct line of communications to you anyway. But in this circumstance, considering the domestic affairs here and considering who one of the actors are, it's not so hard to get a quote from Rashida Tlaib, don't you think? Like, she's not some unreachable person. She's a U.S. congressperson. What are you talking about? And I feel that, you know, in the interest of due diligence and actually doing your duty as a journalist, you probably should reach out to her at some point. She's not a random person. She's an American congressperson. And of course, Jake Tapper has done this so many times when it comes to black and brown congresspersons, but specifically Muslim congresspersons. He always gets away with it because Islamophobia is normalized in American society, in especially the post 9/11 universe. That is precisely the reason why he can say whatever the he wants about Rashida Tlaib, never actually do his due diligence, show his journalistic integrity, and actually go and reach out to her and be like, hey, you know, we reached out for comment, your office didn't respond or something like that. Bring her on to your show, right? It is ridiculous. The original reporter replied directly to Jake's tweet, got 4.5 thousand likes. Okay. Here's Governor Gretchen Whitmer's statement. The suggestion that Attorney General Nessel would make charging decisions based on her religion as opposed to the rule of law is anti-Semitic. Attorney General Nessel has always conducted her work with integrity and followed the rule of law. We must all use our platform and voice to call out hateful rhetoric and racist tropes. Except Rashida Tlaib never did that. So does Governor Gretchen Whitmer's statement also follow that up by saying, and Congressperson Rashida Tlaib never did that? This was a false smear in an effort to deflect away from a point of contention here on whether or not we should be allowed to prosecute college campus protesters who bravely say, you know, genocide is wrong. No, they didn't. Of course they didn't, because everyone is a coward. Ridiculous. Why is it about Secretary of State nominee Blinken that makes the Congresswoman think he would try to suppress her views about the Prime Minister of Israel? Just make sure he doesn't try to silence me and suppress my First Amendment rights to speak out against Netanyahu's racist and inhumane policies. You know what's really interesting is that she was right. I guess too early, but she was right. They did do that. They censured her. They never censured John Kennedy, Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy, for going on a Senate committee hearing on hate crimes and conducting himself in a way where he just did a hate crime to an Arab woman, okay, where he kept repeating the position that this Arab woman was pro-Hamas, pro-Iran, specifically pro-Iranian anti-Semitism, he said, over and over again, despite what her response was. You know, our government never did anything about that because, once again, Islamophobia is normalized. Islamophobia is considered appropriate. It is not considered inappropriate, okay? Just something to consider. It must be pure coincidence that this Tlaib quote is from a story 10 days ago whose author is now frantically trying to correct the record as Kraushar Tapper pushed this smear, only got attention after Tlaib got some sympathy for being the subject of a viciously racist cartoon. Yeah. For the past 6 years, and particularly over the last 12 months, there's been a relentless political and media campaign to marginalize Tlaib because she is the only prominent Palestinian-American woman with a national platform. Even one is too much. That's absolutely what is going on, for the record. That is precisely what's going on. Because Rashida Tlaib withstands a shit ton of attacks as a Muslim and a Palestinian congressperson to begin with. Same with Ilhan Omar. But the timing and the severity of this smear is very odd in comparison to like what the statement was, which they're lying about, and when the statement was actually delivered in Metro Times. It became a news story of national prominence and of national consequence only after I think it was the national, what was it? One of these American publications like made an insane meme, a racist cartoon depicting Rashida as someone whose pager blew up because she is like a part of Hezbollah. I forget where it was. I think it was the National Review. You know, the exact type of commentary and jokes that you hear from the likes of Boner Chelly and his rabid fans, rabid Islamophobic fans, when they make those same jokes about me having my pager blow up in my face or some shit, because they only can fantasize about death and destruction to those who they have declared their enemies. Now, the expectation, of course, is that a news publication that has like broad circulation, despite the fact that National Review is a right-wing piece of shit establishment, is that they're not supposed to do this. Like, they can't just like very openly do this. This is like, you know, making racist cartoon depictions of Barack Obama, which of course they have done as well. Yes, National Review is the N-word guy. Yes, the guy who dropped the N-word when talking about Haitians. That is their editor, okay? Thank you, Mayor Abdullah Hamoud, for speaking up. Our community is already in so much pain right now. This racism will incite more hate and violence against the Arab and Muslim communities, and it makes everyone less safe. It's disgraceful the media continues to normalize this racism. Like, this is crazy. That's a sitting congressperson, man. You have no respect for your own goddamn government to this degree. Like, that's ridiculous. Anyway, obviously people were very frustrated when this came out, and then immediately people were like, let's scour the web to see if we can find a smear campaign. And they did, and successfully launched this idiotic campaign against Rashida Tlaib over something she never said, that the journalist who wrote the article is trying to fact check people over, adding Jeremy Allen Moss directly, adding Dana Nessel directly, adding CNN, adding Jewish Insider, adding the ADL's Jonathan Greenblatt, okay? And even adding Governor Whitmer and saying that she's adding to the lie. But it doesn't matter, because the truth doesn't matter. Do you understand? We in the liberal side of the political equation like to think that we are above this kind of activity, that, you know, only Republicans do this kind of thing. Only Republicans are so stupid as to believe these like false smears, right? No, liberals do that shit too, as long as it corresponds to their personal biases. And if being a liberal and being a supporter of the Democratic Party means that you have to be in support of like Israel's actions unconditionally, then sometimes you are going to deploy the cynical deflection mechanism of like false anti-Semitism smears. That's it. That's it. And that's precisely what's going on here. It's completely unacceptable, but that is what is, you know, guiding the conversation at the moment. Jake Tapper apparently walking back his statements about Rashida Tlaib.
I should note that I misspoke yesterday when asking a follow-up of Governor Whitmer, who I asked about this. I was trying to characterize your views of Tlaib's comments. What do you...
That's crazy, because Dana Bash didn't do that. She doubled down on it. And I like that Jake Tapper, instead of like apologizing to Rashida Tlaib, is apologizing to Nessel.
What do you make of those today, noting that Congresswoman Tlaib never explicitly said that your bias was because of your religion, and so it's unfair for you to make that allegation? I should note that I misspoke.
That's crazy, man. I mean, this is very, very cynical. This is a very cynical way to operate, where you are basically trying to like clarify your position as a serious journalist by being like, yeah, this is something that I said that was objectively wrong. Okay. Oh my God, I just realized Lena Khan follows me on Twitter. What the frick? Hold up. Instant DM. Lena Khan did a slot on 60 Minutes. She's dope. This was another John Feder bitch moment. Next guy to say fracking.
To the point, what do you now like about fracking? You say you're not going to ban it. You support it now.
They're eating dogs. They're eating cats. Again, so, okay. Yes.
That's sick, man. That's really cool. You really did that. You really did that, dude. You handled that so well, King. You handled that so well, dude. Goat. Anyway.